Americans give billions of dollars to charities every year. And let's be real, it's not entirely for unselfish reasons. We love the warm, fuzzy feeling we get knowing we helped feed a hungry child, house a disabled veteran, or get a little closer to a cure for childhood leukemia. We also kinda like the tax deductions, but generally speaking, we expect our charitable contributions to go to, charities. That's ultimately the whole point. Well, here's a newsflash. Not all of your charitable dollars will make it into the hands of the people, animals, or border walls you thought you were supporting when you wrote that check. And that's true even when it's an above-board charity with a solid reputation. Like for-profit businesses, charities have operating costs that include advertising, payroll, utilities, and so on. But some so-called charities have a pretty creative interpretation of operating expenses, and that's what separates the reputable ones from the scams. Most of the charities you'll find in this video aren't operating anymore, or are operating after a total exhaustive overhaul. So this isn't so much a warning about who not to donate to, as it is a warning to be careful. Don't just sign over your paycheck to a robocaller. First, research the charity and make sure it's an A+ organization with a stellar reputation. And enjoy these cautionary stories of good-hearted donors who did not have the luxury of knowing who was on the other side of that fundraiser. But first, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. This is Smart Stories channel. We tell stories that make you think. Associated Community Services. Let's start with a charity from the recent past, just so you won't be lulled into a false sense of security, thinking that would never happen today. In the spring of 2021, the Federal Trade Commission shut down a telefunding operation that turned out to be benefiting only about 8 people, none of whom had any specific need for charitable contributions apart from a pathological desire to be wealthy. Associated Community Services was a robocall scheme, so the fraudsters were able to make an astonishingly huge number of calls, 1,300,000,000 of them in fact, to roughly 67 million people. That means, on average, each targeted person got 19 calls, though a few very unlucky numbers were called more than 5,000 times. The FTC says ACS solicited money for notable causes like homeless veterans, children with autism, and breast cancer patients, but almost none of the money went to the actual living people who were supposed to benefit from it. In fact, most of the organizations for which ACS was soliciting spent little or no money on the charitable causes they claimed to support, and little or no money doesn't mean 5 or 10 cents on the dollar, it means 1/10 of 1%. Meanwhile, ASC owners and executives kept around 90% of the money kind-hearted people got duped into handing over. Overall, the scheme netted about $110 million. National Children's Leukemia Foundation. Nothing tugs the heartstrings like pictures of kids in hospitals, which is probably why St. Jude Children's Research Hospital was the third-ranking American charity in fiscal year 21-22, getting around $2,420,000,000 in private donations, according to Forbes. Unfortunately, emotional causes like sick children tend to inspire emotional giving, which isn't always the most rational kind of giving. Fraudsters know this and capitalize on it. One such example is the National Children's Leukemia Foundation, NCLF, which was founded by a man who reportedly lost his own son to leukemia and therefore had an intimate understanding of what the families of leukemia patients need. NCLF took in around $9,700,000 in charitable contributions, but according to CNN, spent only $57,000 on assistance for leukemia patients. A whopping $1,300,000 plus perks went directly into the pockets of NCLF's founder. That's right, the guy who lost his son. According to Charity Watch, NCLF also told donors it had filed a patient application for a life-saving leukemia treatment, but neither the patient nor the life-saving leukemia treatment actually seemed to exist. Despite the founder's protestations that the charges had little merit, he later admitted to fundraising abuses and forfeited his pension, insurance benefits, and $600,000 in back pay. NCLF was finally shut down by the Office of the New York Attorney General in 2015. The United States Navy Veterans Association. The United States Navy Veterans Association was founded by Harvard-trained attorney John Donald Cody, who claimed to be some guy named Bobby Thompson. In 2013, Cody, also known as Thompson, was sentenced to 28 years in prison for racketeering, theft, money laundering, and stealing people's identities, including, evidently, Bobby Thompson's. According to its hideously ugly and practically unreadable archived website, US NVA was dedicated to supporting policies favorable to the US Navy and helping disabled and needy war veterans, hospitalized veterans, and the dependents and widows of deceased veterans. The organization also promised to sponsor or participate in activities of a patriotic nature, which obviously meant engaging in the very American pastime of making as much money as possible at the expense of other people. According to Charity Watch, USNVA told donors it was an old charity with 66,000 members and a bunch of local chapters. Thompson and his co-executives claimed to be veterans, which meant they could totally be trusted to use the funds wisely. And just to add a little frosting to the credibility cake, USNVA also claimed to have the support of multiple large foundations that didn't actually exist. In reality, there was just one guy, Cody, who collected around $100 million in donations. When he was finally apprehended, Cody had a suitcase full of almost $1 million in cash, but the rest of the money remains unaccounted for. Feed the Children. It's worth noting that Feed the Children still exists and is, according to Charity Navigator, a reputable organization with a 4-star rating. So the scandal that plagued FTC in the past is now history. According to Charity Watch, Feed the Children's was centered around one dude, founder and former president Larry Jones, who previously liked to appear in the organization's infomercials, also featuring malnourished children with flies on their faces. Jones led FTC for almost 30 years, during which time he managed to earn his charity the dubious reputation of most outrageous charity in America. During his tenure, employees reportedly used FTC's warehouse full of donated food as their own personal grocery store, and Jones's son used its bank account as his own personal ATM. Jones also wiretapped the charity's offices so he could record employees without their permission. Jones's improprieties weren't quite on the ground scale of some other charity frauds, but he did give himself unauthorized raises, was accused of misusing charity funds, and tried to stage a coup by installing a brand new, loyal to him board so the current one couldn't oust him. Perhaps most importantly, Jones caused long-term damage to FTC's reputation and the trust donors have for charitable organizations in general. Hale House Foundation. Clara Hale lived through the Great Depression, single-handedly supporting herself and her 3 children as a house cleaner and janitor. Nicknamed Mother Hale, she opened her home as a daycare for the children of the working poor and eventually became a foster parent and advocate for babies born addicted to heroin. When she died in 1992, Hale House was a substantial charity dedicated to caring for the children of drug-addicted mothers. Hale left the charity in the care of her daughter, Lorraine, and that's when everything fell apart. According to the Los Angeles Times, Lorraine Hale and her husband used around $1 million of the charity's funds to buy themselves a jacuzzi and fund an off-Broadway musical that no one actually ever saw. Some of the money was also used to pay family legal expenses unrelated to the Hale House itself. The couple also cashed in a $488,000 insurance policy to use for their own living expenses, per the New York State Attorney General. Hale pled guilty to felony grand larceny and got 5 years probation, with an agreement that she and her husband would cooperate with authorities seeking to recoup the stolen funds. The lighter sentence was almost due to Hale and her husband being in their 70s and not really great candidates for hard prison time. Help hospitalized veterans and a coalition to salute America's heroes. In 2006, Roger Chapin described himself as a non-profit entrepreneur to Forbes, which frankly should have raised a whole bunch of red flags, since a person can make a profit and not make a profit at the same time. Chapin's non-profits included an organization called Help Hospitalized Veterans and another dubbed the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes. HHV's mission was to provide craft kits to hospitalized veterans so they'd have something more productive to do instead of just staring at a television. According to CNN, the kits were basically just instructions for making paper airlines, which no one has to tell you is dumb with a capital D. For their work on these obviously noble cause, executives received six-figure salaries, country club memberships, and the use of a suburban condo in Washington, D.C. in case they needed a place to hang out and collaboratively design new paper airplanes or something. SCAH had a simpler goal. It was supposed to give financial assistance to wounded veterans and their families. But in 2007, Forbes reported the charity was playing fast and loose with accounting rules by sending its bills to HHV and double-counting donations, so it could falsely report a 97% fundraising efficiency. SCAH also gave Chapin $360,000 to cover unreimbursed expenses. HHV is now Help Heal Veterans, and their mission is still pretty much the same, except they have better kids. Police Survivors Fund. When someone dies suddenly and violently, family members are left in emotional and financial turmoil. The loss of that person may also mean a loss of income, and distraught people can be expected to immediately pick up the pieces and find another way to pay the bills. Charities like the Police Survivors Fund are supposed to help remove some of that burden, giving families a chance to heal. But, well, let's just say that the Police Survivors Fund failed to deliver on its promises. According to Britannica, the Police Survivors Fund was established in 1999 with the supposed goal of providing money to the widows and children of police officers killed in the line of duty. During the charity's 4 years of operation, it collected $441,000, mostly through telephone solicitations. Worse, it used threats and intimidation to get people to cough up the money. Potential donors were told, for example, that their local police officers might not be in a hurry to come to their rescue if they weren't on a record as Police Survivors Fund donors. They were also told that they had a patriotic duty to donate $911 to a fund commemorating the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks. Because, 911. In 2003, the ringleader of the Police Survivors Fund pleaded guilty to fraud, and the fake charity was shut down. We built the wall. One of Donald Trump's campaign's promises was to build a big, beautiful border wall at the expense of the Mexican government. By October of 2020, that $0 estimate was adjusted to around $15 billion, mostly from United States military funds. That number was pretty hard for some people to stomach, so a few of Trump's supporters, including Steve Bannon, Brian Kolfage, and Timothy Shea, decided a little crowdsourcing was in order. It's not really clear whether the We Build the Wall campaign was launched with good intentions or if it was only meant to line the pockets of its organizers. But according to the Department of Justice, the campaign raised more than $25 million, all of which was supposed to go to the border wall project. Instead, $350,000 donor dollars were siphoned into Kolfage's pocket under the cover of fake invoices and accounts. Bannon allegedly took around $1 million. Colfage pled guilty in 2022 and agreed to pay back $17 million. According to the Associated Press, Shea was convicted for 2 counts of conspiracy and 1 count of obstruction of justice for his part in the scheme. Bannon was pardoned by Trump, but as of early 2023, still faced charges in the state of New York. This was the last story for today. If you want to hear more stories about biggest charity fraud scandals in America, let us know in the comments and we'll make new video on these topics specially for you. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for being with us and see you soon.